Mini-strokes, medically known as transient ischemic attacks, TIAs, are among the most deceptive and dangerous health events men face after 40. Unlike a full stroke, which often leaves permanent damage, a TIA is temporary. Its symptoms vanish within minutes or hours, lulling victims into a deadly false sense of security. But here's the chilling truth: TIAs are not mini at all. They are your brain's emergency alarm, a desperate cry that your blood flow has been interrupted. Studies confirm that about 1 in 3 people who suffer a TIA will experience a major stroke within days or weeks if they don't seek immediate treatment. And here's the life-altering part: major strokes don't just threaten your life, they destroy your independence. Imagine being fully aware yet trapped in a body that won't obey, unable to move your arm, unable to form words, unable to hug your child or tell your partner you love them. Every man who brushes off a TIA as stress, fatigue, or dehydration is gambling with the most precious resource they have, their brain. For men over 40, when responsibilities are at their peak, careers are demanding, and families depend on them, ignoring a TIA is like ignoring a ticking time bomb in your skull. What makes them so deadly is not the brief moment of weakness or dizziness, it's what happens after. The TIA is the warning shot. The real attack is often right around the corner, and once it comes, there is no rewind button. TIAs are not the problem, they are the message. The real danger lies in pretending nothing happened. A transient ischemic attack happens when blood flow to part of the brain is blocked, usually by a small clot, but then clears quickly. Unlike a stroke, there's no lasting damage, but don't mistake that for safety. Think of it like a small electrical spark in your home. The spark itself may not burn the house down, but it's a clear warning that your wiring is faulty and the fire is coming. Every TIA is like that spark. The problem is that because symptoms disappear, men convince themselves nothing serious happened. They brush it off as stress, poor sleep, or simply getting older. But what actually occurred inside the brain is chilling. Brain cells were briefly starved of oxygen. Each episode leaves behind microscopic scars, weakening your neurological system and bringing you closer to disaster. The misconception is that TIAs are harmless because you bounce back. But ask any stroke survivor, and they'll tell you, there were warnings. They just didn't know, or didn't act. A TIA means your blood vessels are unstable, clogged, or dangerously narrow. It means your blood is clotting when it shouldn't. And above all, it means your brain is at risk of catastrophic failure at any moment. You wouldn't ignore your car if the check engine light was flashing, so why would you ignore your brain's warning signal? If you're a man over 40, understanding what a TIA really is can literally be the difference between living independently or living the rest of your life in a wheelchair. The deadly power of a TIA lies in its subtlety. The symptoms are often so brief, so easy to dismiss, that most men never connect the dots until it's too late. They include sudden weakness or numbness, especially on one side of the body, slurred or confused speech, difficulty understanding words, sudden blurred or double vision, dizziness or balance loss, or a sudden, intense headache that feels like nothing before. These signs appear abruptly, then disappear, often in under an hour. The danger is how easily men explain them away. I was just tired. I skipped lunch. I didn't drink enough water. These excuses kill men every day. Because once the blood clot clears, you feel fine again, but inside your brain the damage has already started, and the risk of a devastating stroke is now higher than ever. What men need to realize is that every second of a TIA is their brain screaming, act now, or pay the price. There is no such thing as just stress when your face suddenly droops, when your hand won't grip, when your words come out scrambled. If you are a man over 40, you must treat every episode of sudden dizziness or weakness as a full-blown emergency, even if it only lasts a few minutes. That short-lived warning might be the last chance your brain gives you before shutting down completely. Men are taught from a young age to be tough. To push through pain, to dismiss weakness, to never ask for help. While this attitude might work in the gym or at work, it is deadly when it comes to health, especially TIAs. Many men ignore symptoms because they believe admitting them makes them weak. Others convince themselves they are too young or too healthy to be at risk. Some fear hospitals, while others don't want to worry their families. But here's the brutal reality: masculinity won't save you from a blood clot. A TIA doesn't care if you're strong, successful, or seemingly fit. It doesn't care about your job, your pride, or your fear of doctors. TIAs strike silently, often at the busiest times of life, when men are juggling careers, families, and responsibilities. By dismissing the signs, they are literally giving the stroke permission to strike harder, sooner, and more destructively. For countless men, denial has cost them their careers, their independence, and their ability to live life on their own terms. Imagine being the man who ignored a minor dizzy spell, only to wake up the next morning unable to speak to his children. Pride won't matter then. What will matter is whether you acted when your brain begged you to. TIAs don't just threaten your health, they threaten everything you've built and everything you love. Here's the most terrifying fact about mini strokes: they almost always foreshadow something far worse. TIAs are not random events. They are predictors, warnings that your brain is about to experience a full-blown stroke if you don't take action. Medical studies show that up to 40% of people who have a stroke first experienced a TIA. That's nearly half of all stroke victims who had a preview of what was coming. Yet, because the symptoms vanished, many never sought help until it was too late. A major stroke is catastrophic. Unlike a TIA, the damage does not disappear. It can rob you of your ability to move, speak, or even think clearly. For men over 40, especially those with high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, or a history of smoking, the risk skyrockets. A stroke doesn't just steal your health, it steals your identity. It can end careers overnight. It can turn a strong, independent man into someone dependent on others for the simplest tasks. Eating, dressing, even using the bathroom. And the cruelest part? In many cases, the stroke could have been prevented if the TIA had been recognized as the serious red flag it truly is. Think of TIAs as the flashing red lights at a railroad crossing. If you ignore them, the train doesn't stop. It's coming, and it will crush you if you're still standing on the tracks. TIAs don't come out of nowhere. They are the direct result of underlying health problems that many men either ignore or never get checked for. High blood pressure, often called the silent killer, is one of the most dangerous triggers. It quietly damages the arteries, making them brittle and narrow, until one day a clot gets stuck. Diabetes, high cholesterol, obesity, smoking, excessive alcohol use, and chronic stress also add fuel to the fire. What's worse is that many men live with these conditions undiagnosed. They walk around every day with ticking time bombs inside their bodies, completely unaware. Plaque buildup in the arteries narrows the passageways that feed your brain. A small clot forms, it gets lodged, and suddenly your brain is starving for oxygen. You feel dizzy, confused, maybe you slur a few words, and then it clears. But that wasn't stress. That was your body sounding the alarm. If you ignore it, the next clot may not clear, and the damage will be permanent. TIAs are the equivalent of your car's engine light flashing. If you wouldn't ignore your car when it tells you something is wrong, why would you ignore your body? The truth is simple: the same habits that slowly poison the heart also poison the brain. And men who choose to ignore these triggers are playing with loaded dice. Perhaps the most heartbreaking part about TIAs is how preventable the tragedies they foreshadow can be. Too many men dismiss their little dizzy spell only to wake up the next day trapped in a body that no longer listens. Stroke survivors often describe the horror of being fully aware mentally but unable to move or speak, a living nightmare where your mind is intact, but your body is paralyzed. Families are forced to become caregivers overnight, watching the person they love transformed in an instant. Children see their strong father now unable to walk. Wives become nurses instead of partners. The financial and emotional toll can devastate entire households. Medical bills pile up, careers are cut short, and futures are rewritten in hospital rooms instead of homes. Imagine one moment laughing with your kids, and the next, staring at them from a wheelchair, unable to form the words to say, "I love you." The cruel truth is that many of these lives are shattered not because of bad luck, but because a warning was ignored. The TIA was the gift of foresight, a second chance most men threw away. The reality is simple: ignoring a TIA doesn't just cost you your health. It costs your family their father, their husband, their provider, their protector. Here's the most important message: if you ever suspect a TIA, even if the symptoms vanish, you must treat it as a 911 emergency. Don't wait. Don't drive yourself. Call for help immediately. Doctors can perform scans to see what caused the episode, check for blockages, and prescribe life-saving medications like blood thinners or cholesterol-lowering drugs. Sometimes, minor surgical procedures can remove the danger before it turns fatal. But none of that can happen if you don't act. The key is speed. Time is brain. Every passing minute puts you at greater risk of a full-blown stroke. Many hospitals use the acronym FAST: face drooping, arm weakness, speech slurred, time to call emergency services. If you notice any of these, even if they vanish, don't gamble with your life. Acting fast is not an overreaction, it is survival. The men who survive and go on to live healthy lives are not the ones who toughed it out. They are the ones who swallowed their pride and got to the hospital. The truth about TIAs is that prevention is not only possible, it's powerful. The same habits that protect your heart will protect your brain. Start by controlling your blood pressure. This single step alone reduces your risk more than almost anything else. Check your cholesterol regularly. If you have diabetes, manage it aggressively. Quit smoking. Limit alcohol. Maintain a healthy weight and commit to daily exercise. Even a 30-minute walk can cut your risk dramatically. Pay attention to your diet: more vegetables, lean proteins, and whole grains, less salt, sugar, and processed junk. And don't skip checkups. After 40, every man should have regular screenings. Prevention is not about living in fear, it's about taking control. It's about ensuring you're not the man who collapses in front of his children, but the man who grows old enough to watch them thrive. Protecting yourself from TIAs is not just about avoiding death, it's about preserving the life you built. The independence, the career, the family. The choice is in your hands. Let's be clear, mini strokes are not harmless. They are not just stress. They are not something to shake off. They are the brain's way of screaming at you that time is running out. For men over 40, every ignored symptom is a gamble, and one day, you will lose. The truth is, you cannot afford to play games with your brain. Every TIA is a gift, a warning most men never get before the full catastrophe. But the window is small. You can either act immediately, get checked, and protect your future, or you can brush it off and roll the dice, hoping the next episode doesn't steal your independence, your ability to communicate, or your life. Don't be the man who ignored the signs. Don't be the man who thought he was invincible. Be the man who listened. Be the man who lived.